Newman?
Maybe he left.
Okay.
Max. Max.
We'll get there eventually.
Max.
Joseph Tetley?
Thank you for the opportunity to address you. My name is Joe Tetley, and I'm an assistant football coach from Alvin High School. And I had a list of things here to tell you about the integrity of the man I work for, who actually was a player for me back in high school. But then I'd have to tell you how old I was, and that would be an upsetting experience for me. But I will tell you this, I was a New York City school teacher for 37 years, during that time I was an assistant football coach in high school, a head football coach at my alma mater, and 4 years at Keene University and Wagner College as a coach. So I have an extensive background in teaching and coaching. It was to my great benefit that I worked for a woman at Newdorp High School named Elizabeth Scabara, who was the principal of a school, and we had between 38 and 4,200 kids in that school, so it's a big job and a big undertaking. She sits on the advisory council to the Department of Education's chancellor in New York City. And I called her when this whole thing blew up, for lack of a better word. And I asked her how she led us, because I was what you would call a department chairman of special education while I was the head football coach at high school. How she was able to, or somehow figured a way out to let us work in those jobs. And she reminded me that while she was the principal of Newdorp High School, she was the head cheerleader advisor and coach. And she was at every football game. She coached the kids after school. She took them on to competitions. She spent a great deal of time with them. And she said to me, Joe, if you think of it as a principal, or folks in a powerful position that you are, your best people are your administrators. They're the ones that you count on in times of emergency. And doesn't it make sense to let them have more time with the kids? Isn't it great that I can have a guy like you who runs my special ed department be my head football coach? Or I, as the principal of this school, can spend time with 30 or 40 girls every day coaching cheerleading? So I think this policy that we have here in this school is somewhat cheating the kids that play for us. It cheats all the athletes. It cheats them of time that they can be spending with superior people like Coach Gallagher. It's a policy, it's not a rule. I think you have it within your power to fix that. I don't know if you can do it this minute. I wish you could. I strongly urge you to. But it certainly is something that you should look at. Just because it's been done that way for so long doesn't mean it's right. You have good people working in that building. You, sir, were a coach and had to give up coaching to become, I don't know what you went on to do, but it certainly was against the policy. Why does a policy have to stand? Why can't we have some leverage? Why can't we have some common sense? My point to you is this. You just unanimously voted to save an assistant principal's job for Mr. Gallagher. I applaud you for that. You also said that it's going to mean the school is without an assistant principal for the next 8 or 9 weeks. Doesn't it make more sense to let him come and be the assistant principal and be the football coach, and at the end of 9 weeks then do this that you wanted to do? Were you going to have no assistant principal as opposed to a man who's going to be there in the building? We played Middletown North High School Friday evening. The game was at 7 o'clock. We took 3 buses of kids, 2 buses of cheerleaders, and the band there. The last person to arrive, and quite late to the game, was Coach Gallagher, because he stayed late finding a girl with a concussion in the school who had been participating in I think a soccer game. Might have been field hockey. He stayed with her until he could get the trainer, until he contacted the parents and made sure she was well taken care of. He was acting as an assistant principal, not as a football coach. You know what he really was doing? He was being Coach Gallagher, or Tom Gallagher, a person that you're lucky enough to have in your building, being with your kids. I think you need to think about that. I think you're losing the services of someone who can be doing a lot of things for a lot of students in that building. His duties end at 4 o'clock, but his duties never do, because if you drive by Manhattan High School at 10 o'clock at night, Mr. Gallagher was there. If you stop by at 6 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Gallagher was there. He comes out onto the football field well after 4 o'clock because he's fulfilling his duties as assistant principal. We have an experienced staff that handles that, and we've made all kinds of arrangements so that he can do that. We're not asking him or you to lose his service as an assistant principal. We're asking you to be flexible enough in a time of this government and this state sees us as being inflexible people. Why not let Mr. Gallagher at least give you 99% of what you've been getting in the building?
Coming up on your time limit, Mr.
Okay, well, I could go on, but I'll say this to you. It makes no sense to me that you should be floating between Howell High School and Freehold Borough High School when you could be doing at least some of the duties that you have no assistant principal to do now. You just voted on that. That makes no sense to me, folks. Thank you very much.
John Gilburn.
Good evening. Thank you. I don't know how I can follow that. Mr. Tetley hit on a lot of the points I had. I can only say to you that I've been the parent of 5 children who came through the Manalapan High School and the Freehold Regional High School District. Thank God for people like that, because 2 of my sons played ball, 3 of my daughters did not, but they were still influenced by the way they handle business. They're all doing well today. They're all going on with their education. They're responsible young adults who are making a great contribution to this society. It all starts at home, and these guys pick the ball up and they go with it, and it's amazing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great Tom Gallagher is. We know that already. But I do ask you to reiterate, and I reiterate what Mr. Tetley said. We have all these resources. If this was the military, they would be using all their resources. They have to. I mean, especially in the climate we're in today with the economic, the perceived or the real. Let this man do his job. A policy is just that, a policy. It makes no sense. And if I understand that there may be some people who aren't happy with this decision for whatever reason, well, they're not here tonight to make their positions known. So I ask you to please respond to the people that are here and let this guy do his job. I mean, really, it makes no sense, guys. It really doesn't, and that's why people are angry and upset. You don't see us at these meetings all the time. You don't see a lot of us, because we go about our business and do what we have to do. We raise our children, we go to work. One of the great things Tom Gallagher said one day, it's like, when to getting up in the morning, going to work. Common sense. Stop being a thing of, great moral turpitude. So I ask you, please, these are people who are here to support this man for a reason. We just don't come here for any reason, okay? And I ask you to please reconsider letting him do his job and getting the most out of all the resources you have in this great school district. Thank you.
Lee Rubin. Lee. Okay. James Brennan.
I want to tell you that I know Tom Gallagher for 2 years. I met him when my son was honored and privileged enough to be the honorary captain of the Monmouth all-shore football team. My son was injured in Afghanistan, lost both his legs. Many of you members of this board were here 2 years ago when you honored him. I could sit here and talk to you about my son all night long. Very proud of him. Tom Gallagher, when my son spoke to the Monmouth All-Star team, was very impressed. Met Tom a couple of months ago, asked me if I could have my son come up and speak to the football team before the season really got going. My son was honored to come up and do that. Tom showed the football team many videos about my son. Most of the football team was very humble, very quiet. The point I'm trying to make here is that Tom not only teaches football, okay? He teaches life's lessons. These young men that come out of here in Manalapan High School and Freehold Regional School District, many of them will decide, I will take a military career. Tom has pointed them to one way or the other, has given them many roads to go down. All of them good. We all have pitfalls along this road, okay? Tom tries to keep the kids going in the right direction. And I reiterate once again that what everybody else has said here tonight, I think we need to think about our policies, not only for Manalapan, for the Freehold Regional School District. As the gentleman before me said, just because it's a policy doesn't mean it's right. He deserves his job. He deserves to give his family the better life because he is an assistant principal. We need to change our policy. Thank you.
Sam Mahan.
Yes, my name is Sammy Mann. I live at 1 Knollwood Court, Manalapan. I just want to say that, you know, how many times we hear educators, Board of Eds, always say, it's for the kids, it's about the kids. Even when the NJEA was battling Christie with all what's going on, always about the kids. That's the only thing you heard. But then this came up. This was not about the kids, it was more about you. And as I said, people talk about policy. You can change policy. It's not a flat rule, so to speak. Other districts have the same thing. Catholic schools allow their principals and assistant principals to be coaches. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we lose students to those Catholic schools. You know, because the coaches are role models. Coaches are great people. You know, Coach Gallagher chose the kid over dollars. That's about loyalty, respect, and honor. He did the right thing, and then turns around, he gets the gas pipe. And that's what upsets so many people here. I mean, even if you did not know Coach Gallagher, someone said to you, this man lost X amount of dollars to honor his promise to the kids. And maybe some of you can't see because you don't have football players, but just imagine if you took your daughter 4 straight years to a dancing school, and all of a sudden that dance instructor, she just left. You'd be like, oh my God, what happened? Why'd they do that? Well, someone 2 miles away offered X amount of money more. And then you would say, well, I can't blame him. But here's a man who did the right thing by everybody. And as I said, I hope you reconsider him being in Manalapan, that he can be back in Manalapan. I mean, being a floater at later high school times, when Manalapan gets out at 2, let's give him back his assistant principal duties now. Maybe something can be worked out. But let's do the right thing and do it for the kids. Thank you.